All right, thanks for your patience. We're live and recording.
Great, thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kathleen Cunningham. I'm the chairperson of the Architectural Review Board, the Town of East Hampton. I welcome you to our October 27th, 2022 meeting. I can't believe we're facing down the end of the year. I want to thank LTV staff and our planning staff and council for getting us prepared today. I'm just going to read a little bit from our charge as part of the town code in terms of what we are responsible to perform, our particular responsibilities. The procedures are established to provide for review and approval of the architecture, design, scale, and style of certain classes of buildings and structures, and for the design, scale, and architectural compatibility of historic landmarks and structures and improvements within designated historic districts. The Architectural Review Board shall be charged with the responsibility of carrying out the architectural and design review provided for in this article. After such review, it shall approve, modify, and approve or disapprove the proposed designs or changes in design over which it is jurisdiction. We are charged with maintaining the character of this community and to make sure that buildings that are proposed are in harmony with the characteristics of our town. So thank you for bearing with me on that. And we will start by taking a motion to approve the minutes of October 13th, 2022.
I make a motion.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're done. Okay, so our first application is East Hampton Historical Farm Museum Storage, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-163-6-31, 25 and 26. It's at 131 North Main Street, and it's a town-owned property. Diane, this is yours. Are you the representative?
Yes, hi. I'm Samantha Malone, an associate at Tarbert and Lester.
Oh, hi, Samantha. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Okay, so Diane will give us an overview, and then if you have anything you'd like to add or clarify, we'll call on you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is an application. This is an application for comments from the Architecture Review Board about the construction of a storage shed accessory building to the existing historical farm museum. And this is the one on the corner of Cedar Street and North Main Street, which I think everyone is familiar with. I assume that our main commentary is about the placement of this storage shed, which is a narrow, long building, about a little less than 600 square feet. And where they have suggested is situated is behind the existing buildings, behind the garden, and in the back of the property where there is a very nice grove of, I think, cherry trees and maybe walnut trees. And perhaps architecturally, they chose this shape of the building, this long, so they wouldn't have to sacrifice too many of those trees, I would hope. But I think it is very important that they are adding some storage shed to this farm museum because it is deeply in need of storage space and maybe some museum signage and some museum type maintenance. Because now if you didn't know it was a museum, you might miss the point. So I hope that this shed will take a lot of those things that seem to be strewn around the property with no rhyme or reason. I hope this shed will alleviate that.
Okay, Willow's pulling up the survey for us.
I didn't have it in the file, so I'm pulling it up from my.
Oh, you didn't have it in the file. Okay.
I took pictures.
Yeah, I got that.
I just asked him to get the survey. I thought it would accompany your description of its position on the property, that might be helpful for people to see that. Okay, well.
Sometimes it's slow.
Did you have any other comments, Diane, you'd like to make?
There we
There we are.
There we are.
So you see the two existing buildings,
Mhm.
and that little square is what they call a garden. It's very, it's quite wild, but it has a lot of sort of plows and old-fashioned equipment around it, so it has atmosphere. And then behind it, you see the proposed shed.
Can you scroll up a little bit? Because it looks to be at the bottom of the screen. Am I correct?
Right, the more, it's got the shade.
What they're not showing, that surrounding that
Oh, I see it, yeah.
placement of the shed is this grove of cherry and maybe walnut trees,
Mhm.
which they're not showing. But my pictures do show the space.
Right. Okay, could you leaf through the photos for us, please, Will?
Okay, that's looking back toward the space from where you pull in.
Mhm.
And that's a long distance view. And I'm sure there's a closer view.
That's the garden.
That's the garden.
And there
And
it
there's
is.
the
Oh, okay.
grove
Oh,
of
that
the
is
trees.
Those are the
Pretty.
trees.
Which is
Oh,
very nice.
And those would be-
Yeah.
Well, they are right in the
Sacrifice.
area where they're suggesting the storage shed. But and maybe they've considered that so that as few as possible will be removed. It seems to me that maybe one or two would have to go for not necessarily to fit the building in, because I think the building is less than 20 feet wide.
14 feet.
14,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew it was very wide. So I hope that they were considering keeping the grounds as natural as possible.
It's existing, right?
Of course, they have to, that's, yeah.
No, and I mean that to maintain what's existing.
Yeah. I would think that would be part of the
Okay.
mandate of the museum.
Did you have anything you'd like to tell us, Ms. Malone?
So we just would like to hear your comments. We appreciate your comments today. The planning board has approved the location and design. And so this is
Sign, yeah.
going to be scheduled for public hearing. I think it might have been scheduled last night.
Okay. Well, the design actually falls to this board, so the location for the site plan is for the planning board. But this is, so their comments, they want us to make comments to them,
Yes.
generally regarding the design elements of the structure. So, but I think that Member Benson, thank you very much for that thorough overview. Diane has brought up a couple of questions. Are you planning to remove the trees?
I would have to look into that and ask our client, but certainly can get back to you.
Okay.
Is there a depiction of the building?
Yeah, could we pull it up, please? Do you know if this is going to have, is it going to be a foundation? Is it a concrete slab? What's the construction?
The construction is based off of another approved shed that was located on another town property.
The one by the
So-
Marine Museum?
Yes.
So is that on a slab or does that,
Let me just
not aware?
one moment. Sorry.
No, they gave me this back. Treated posts.
Kind of hard to see, but. Yeah.
Do we know?
Footings. I don't know.
Yeah.
It does, it says, yeah. Is that what it is?
It says 6x6 treated post set on Simpson.
It's kind of.
Function
Yeah,
numbers,
but that's like the
steel
closest.
posts anchored to.
Hmm.
What did you say?
This is the closest thing they have to like a.
A rendering.
An elevator.
Yeah, no, that's all we have, yeah.
But we don't know whether it's on a slab or it's dug into the ground. It looks like it goes down beneath the.
Yeah, so it says treated steel post bases anchored to footings.
Yes.
Right, so these appear to be pressure treated posts
Mhm.
in a Simpson base. And then they're anchored to footings. My view is, at first glance, this looks fine. but there's not a lot of detail here. Like pressure treated lumber is not very attractive. That's that greenish stuff you typically use to frame a deck, and then you hide it. So I don't know when they say treated posts, what exactly that means. Is what is the material? Is this Doug fir? Are these cedar posts? Like, and what are the materials on the doors? Are they in the siding? Is it cedar? And like, what's the color of the roof? So there's actually, I mean, I think the first glance, like, oh, this is a relief. It's a nice shed that seems to work well, but there's not a lot of information on the architectural detail here, which in a shed like this, and given the sensitivity of the site, is actually pretty important. I mean, down to like, what are the details of the
siding?
But even like the doors, like, you know, what kind of hardware is going to be used? It's like, is it galvanized? Is it like aluminum?
Right,
What
what's
is
the
that?
roofing material? Because I know, for instance, that the similar shed that's by the Marine Museum ended up having a cedar roof, which was not what was proposed and wasn't what was approved, actually. So that I remember that being sort of a modification after the fact, as built,
Okay.
which was a good improvement. But that, you know, your point, Frank, is good, that we need to know what exactly is proposed.
So, in this aspect, we are going to be preparing comments to planning. So, I think generally, I guess some of our comments would be to ask more questions of the applicant about what some of these other architectural features are, materials and the hinges and the doorknobs and what kinds
The
of,
foundation.
whether there's, what the
Right.
foundation is made of and so forth. I would guess in general that the proposal would be to make it match the existing,
Yes.
but without those details, it's hard for us to really say. So I think we would need something more specific in that regard. But did you have any questions for us?
No, I will take those comments and
Okay.
convey
I mean,
them to
we'll
our
send you
client.
something in writing because that's our obligation. So we'll compose something.
Report, yeah.
Either a report or comments. We were unclear about what exactly that protocol was, but we'll send you something and then and we'll send it to planning, really. So you'd be copied on that as the applicant.
Was there the question of still also just briefly consulting with an architectural historian or consultant to just make sure that, you know, this is also compatible with the site?
I think we could try to do that. I don't have anyone off the top of my head. Not sure Bob Hefner's available for that.
My question would be, is if it's the East Hampton Historical Society, have they done
It's
that?
not, it's
No,
not,
it's the-
oh, sorry, it's the alternative group. It's not this.
Farm Museum, East Hampton.
Okay, have they engaged someone? You know, they might have. That's wishful
Maybe this
thinking, but,
architect.
you know, I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, it's a good question.
So we'll include all that in our comments and maybe it's just still a matter of having those questions answered and then we can proceed.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Well, I would also
Are
say
you- sorry.
sorry, for the benefit of the applicant, materials and details aside, because it sounds like the architect may need to develop some details for this. Is the board comfortable with the overall design
Of the building.
do we view it favorably, I guess?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Thanks for asking that,
Even
Frank.
the placement on the property, I mean, what will be displaced by it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's that was my question is what was if you were going to have to remove some of those trees to put this in, but you don't know that, right?
I do not
Right,
at this
that's fine.
moment. Yeah.
But then Frank's point is, and we need to answer this question, I think, is do we generally favor the design of the building and think it's compatible?
I mean,
I think yes. I think it's a
Yeah.
very sensitive structure, and the doors are like what an old carriage house would have. I think it's perfect.
I agree.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Okay, so in general, the design is acceptable, but we just need the details of the materials and the other things that we were listing earlier.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you so
all right,
much.
thanks for coming. That was mercilessly short. Change to commercial. I'm sabotaging us now.
Yes, exactly.
I'm so sorry. Sylvan Realty LLC, Suffolk County Tax Net number 300-161-4-9. Is Mr. Whalen here?
My name is David Brown, representing Sylvan Realty.
Okay. David Brown are you part of Rick's outfit or are you part of Sylvan Realty?
Part of Sylvan.
I see. Okay. Thank you. So you're not an attorney, is
No.
what I'm trying to establish.
I am not.
Okay, great. Okay, the way this process works is we'll have the board member treat it and then we'll get some questions
Of course.
to you. Okay, just as a little background here, this is 44 Three Mile Harbor Road. And this application is waiting for site plan approval under ordinary circumstances. This is mainly for the board's edification, but we would not be entertaining an application that did not have site plan approval, but this is a very big project. It's been before the planning board for some time. And we feel that the applicant is at a stage where they would benefit from the feedback of the ARB at this point. So we're not going to treat this like a normal application where we'll approve or disapprove tonight. We're just going to give the applicant some comments. And with that, Frank, if you would take it away.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, okay, this is 44 Three Mile Harbor Road. This is an application to modify a commercial building, currently a one-story building that we reviewed 2 weeks ago that is El Turco Restaurant. This is a proposal to renovate and expand the existing building to become a 17,200 square foot mixed-use commercial building. The proposed changes are as follows. A 6,881 square foot ground floor, of which nearly all appears to be commercial retail space. The ground floor will expand southwards into the parking lot, of which there will be 48 paved parking spaces in what is currently a gravel parking lot. A new second story of what appears to be 4,961 square feet to be mixed-use office and residential space. Part of this second floor sits outside of the first floor footprint on the south side of the parking lot, creating a colonnade at the ground floor commercial level. The building elevations tell the best story here. There are many materials, roof forms, window types, architectural forms, and even a towering spire well above the maximum 30-foot, 5-foot building height facing the parking lot. The heights of roofs are not all given here, but it appears the peak of the second floor roof is about 30 feet, at least twice the height of the existing structure. The architect for this project is the architect for the Tanger Outlet in Riverhead, among many other similar mixed-use shopping mall outlets and retail establishments listed on the firm's website. While it is this board's duty to review this application based on the merits of what is presented here, it gives me great concern that the proposed design here has striking similarities to other mixed-use and retail projects listed on the firm's website. This proposed design is utterly lacking in scale, materials, form, and massing to the context of the architecture in the town of East Hampton and nearby on North Main Street, the closest commercial area with anything more than a one-story commercial building. The east wall of the building sits quite close to the edge of 3 Mile Harbor Road, approximately 40 feet based on the survey. Further, this property sits in what is at most a mixed-use neighborhood, if not a residential neighborhood. There are no two-story commercial buildings within its immediate vicinity. The tallest commercial building is a one-story martial arts studio across the street with a rather flat peak roof. It cannot be understated here how this proposed mixed-use building would transform the surrounding neighborhood for the worse. Its size is much larger than anything around it, and change to this building from being an in situ dining establishment to what appears to be a retail shopping space seems greatly out of context with the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay,
Those are my initial
This was
comments.
before us before.
thank you, Frank.
This was before us several months ago in a different,
It wasn't
Last
this,
year,
it wasn't
years
this
ago.
calendar year.
2 years
yeah,
ago.
but in a
before.
different, but the same idea in a different
Different
form.
form, yes.
Okay.
Right. So, did you have any comments?
Um, we are proposing to transform, the existing, what has been a nightclub restaurant for many years into changing permanently that use, to a retail, as you've described. We are here seeking comments and feedback so that we can, make it fit.
Proceed with the site
appropriately.
plan. Yep, okay.
One comment regarding the spire that you mentioned, that was a comment that the planning board brought up that would likely be a concern for you, and we've directed the architect to remove that, so that, in the next presentation to you, that would not be there.
Well, that's good news. That's a step in the right direction. Diane, please.
Yeah,
go ahead.
how many stores or galleries or whatever do you imagine would be accountable then,
Well, we currently don't have anybody in discussion
No,
for
but
these.
it's
The intent would,
Yeah.
the ideal intent would be a single tenant on the ground floor.
Single tenant.
At most, it could be two, but that's not our intent.
And what's upstairs?
The upstairs, there's a residential aspect, which was in response to some of the planning board's question for workforce housing. So the 2 apartment units there are designated for workforce housing. And the balance of it would be commercial office space, ideally for whoever the retail tenant is below, but not confirmed at this point.
This backs up to a very residential neighborhood on Springs Fireplace Road. How will this project impact those houses? This is going to be in their backyard.
Well, we've gone through with the zoning board for, zoning setbacks and such. The portion that is up against the Springs Fireplace residential section are the residential units of the building. The ground floor obviously is the commercial retail, but that is intended to be sort of stock space, their storage space. So there wouldn't be much activity on the ground floor on the backside. And for the second floor, again, would be the residential
Is
aspect
that
of
what
it.
we're looking at the bottom rendering? Is that the back of the building?
Which elevation?
The
is
lowest
that?
elevation there.
That's the rear of the building. So this is the Springs, that's the Springs Fireplace sort of side, and those would be the residential units over there.
Is there a survey that shows the whole,
Site.
the whole property, including like the parking and?
There is. I believe it was one of the last pages of the electronic file we submitted.
We're just trying to get the aerial photograph of the neighborhood for you.
This is a better idea too.
Yeah, there's a survey right there.
Okay.
Can you-
So,
Pull that up, Will?
can you enlarge it, Will? Keep the survey, please, and enlarge it, please.
Yeah, it's tricky because he can't see the screen.
Yeah. Okay, so
This is the existing building
right.
right here, with the gravel parking. So the proposal, we are intending to retain the existing foundations and the existing footprint of the building. And the expansion would be to the front in this little section here primarily for egress means out of the building. And then the parking lot would be developed to this side. So this is the residential piece over here. And I believe I think that might be commercial and this is residential down here. But the housing portion of the property is down at this end.
Those 2 apartments are on that
The 2 apartments.
east side, yeah. So is there a is there a landscaping plan or something for those parking spaces that actually abut the residential neighborhood?
There is. Is that the page prior, perhaps? Or maybe the one after, I'm sorry.
Because that to me is that's the
Your
point. That's the one that'll have the most impact on the,
So there is planting, that was at the last planning board discussion, there was discussion of the quantity and types of plants there, so This is more or less representative of what the planning department felt was adequate there. There was one request to consider relocating this dumpster enclosure to the 3 Mile Harbor side of the site, which are, and civil engineers in the process of making sure they can do that and maintain the parking counts that are required. So that likely will flip to the other side here, and then this would simply be cars with the appropriate plant screenings.
Right. Is there going to be a fence there?
There is, I believe there is intended a 6-foot stockade fence that runs along the property.
6-foot stockade.
I think 6 feet is the maximum allowable.
Well, that would be helpful for light trespass and so, for headlights and so on. Is there any other fencing proposed for the property?
Just on the property bordering, there would not be any fencing on the street side.
Okay.
And I believe this is conservation space.
It's a park, yeah.
Yeah.
There was not an intention to put fencing.
Right. And you're proposing plantings for the north side there?
Here?
Yeah.
Yes, and those were discussed. These are, representative plant species that the planning board and planning department felt.
Okay.
were appropriate for that.
Okay. Oh, could we go back to the elevations, please?
And the renderings.
Yeah.
Criteria for it?
Yeah, or the definition of it. Workforce for the retail that's going in there.
I don't, it's not specifically identified for the workers of that, although it could be. I would have to get some more information on that.
Could you just go back to the mic, please? Thanks. I know this is a little hard to do, point at the screen from that podium.
We need a
But
pointer.
yeah, we do need a pointer. Would it be possible to leaf through, this is the page with all the elevations on it. Well, could we get at them individually, please? I see. This is a good.
This is the view from the parking lot.
Right.
This
Okay.
3 Mile,
So
3
this
Mile
is the
Harbor Road is to
southern-
the left.
To the left.
Yeah. Okay.
So could I better understand this, with this supposed one occupant ground floor space is how large about?
It's about 6,500, 6,800 square feet.
Huge.
But there's a portion of that would be stock space or
Yeah.
back use
I
space.
know that, but that means some sort of a big mega store.
Well,
You can consider that, but that's
no,
Yeah, well,
it's not
there-
quite, yeah.
David's reminding us what we're allowed to comment on, but I understand. I take the point
Bigger
is
houses.
that
I mean, it's a valid question. If
Yes.
it's like, we're not going to get a small mom and pop store in here.
This is gonna be
Correct.
the
I thought,
antique
I was
store.
envisioning that it was multiple businesses. but you're-
And it may be, I believe there's some zoning requirements around the number of retail establishments that can go in there, but I don't know that for certain.
okay. Well, how do we feel about the massing and scale and harmony of this building? I would just like to say that I agree with Frank. I mean, I know I've lived here a long time and I'm used to seeing that sort of 1.5-story building there, which is kind of a flat roof. Doesn't, also protrude up into the tree line, so that to see a second floor at all is sort of jarring for those of us that live here. But it's not even that so much to me. It's just it just feels really big. I almost think it probably isn't even as big as it looks. Do you know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
think, you know what I mean? It appears bigger than I think it actually is, but I would.
Well, it's busy and it feels like Tangent Mall. That's what you're
It's
saying.
got, it has,
Certainly echoes
it
that,
has,
yeah.
it has a mall-like quality to it, which is not in keeping with our design elements and the harmony and character of this community. That big front-facing gable just seems like stuck in there somehow to me, and that spire. I don't know. It feels like it's trying to be a big, grand building in a little spot. Like this would go better on a 5-acre commercial lot, to my mind. But even then, there are design elements to it that I would have trouble approving.
Well, I
Have
think-
you had a chance to look at the code and see what the kinds of materials and design elements that we favor, and our job to ensure in terms of the harmony of these buildings into our community?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we did have our architects go through that. We were attempting to try to use
Right.
materials that were, could sustain weather and
Right.
such, keeping with a lot of trying to keep with the harmonies of the area.
Right.
There's not one natural material on page 17 of this presentation. It's
Hmm.
fiber cement siding, fiber cement shingles, asphalt shingles, and fiber cement fake stone.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, those are
And
not the
AZA
materials
and
that
whatever
we
this
usually-
PVC column wrap.
Yeah.
And this whole building is plastic. Okay. There's nothing contextual about the materials. If we go back to the elevation, it is like, I feel like we're making, I think we need, at least from my perspective, this is a non-starter architecturally. There are moves here that seem that the architect, it's like to suggest that historically we had turrets and we had architecture in the town of this. There's nothing in the town that looks like this. And it's not to say, I've said this before in the hearing, that what comes before our board and gets approved has to be something we've seen before. But there are architectural moves that Kathy hit on that are actually making the building appear larger than it needs to be. The gable in front with the colonnade, whatever that turret tower is, there's nothing like this here. If you took those out, it might actually start to appear just like a second story addition on that building, and you're doing a makeover of it. But given what is programmatically being applied for here, which is a very large retail space, I'd be curious what other stores what's comparable to 7,000 square feet. It even it actually magnifies the building, the program that goes into it. If it were just something that weren't such a public commercial space, it wouldn't, and you took those architectural elements off, it wouldn't be so, and I have to use the word architecturally offensive. But given the program that's going in here, it makes it even more not contextual and
shoehorned. It's very
shoehorned in. There's just too much going on. It's the mass and scale, and that is what we are tasked with here as the Architectural Review Board, is determining whether the mass and scale and the materials are appropriate in the context of the site, in the town. And to me, there's nothing here that works. I don't know where we frankly go architecturally from here.
I agree. And what it brings to mind, the home goods store in Wainscott, which was highly controversial when it was built on the highway, but at least they used cedar shingles, they used fake barn doors. And when you look at it from the highway, it actually looks like it might have been an old barn. When you whip around to the back, it looks like any shopping center. But I think you need to go look at a building like that on the highway side to see what is contextual, because this is certainly not contextual. There's no building like this in East Hampton. There isn't even a new mega mansion like this in East Hampton.
Right. Did you have something you wanted to?
No, I'm in agreement with everything that's been said so far regarding the mass, the scale, the materials. I find that's sort of the worst offender in some ways. And I'm transported to Riverhead, and it's no offense to Riverhead, but it is just it looks like a strip mall.
This building shouts at you. We don't want buildings that shout at us.
Right.
It says, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm sure you want that to draw attention to the retail tenant, but we don't want buildings that shout at us. They got to fit into the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's just out of context with that neighborhood completely.
I think that's the main issue, is it's just out of context with that community character. It's meant to harmonize, it's meant to blend in, it's meant to mimic some of the materials and forms that you see in that area. And I understand it's a mixed use corridor there. You know, we have some residential and some commercial, and might be a little hard to kind of get a real strong fix on what that is. But I think Chip's suggestion, not that we would ever recommend the home goods building to you, because that was not a home run here. But he rightly identifies that there are elements in that design, those design features that are more acceptable. I think that the mass of this, when I opened up when I first saw the plan, the first thing that came to my mind was that it was massive. That is not a term I usually use, because it just felt cumbersome to the lot, even to me. So can we look at another elevation, please, just to kind
I
of,
mean, if I could, in
Sure.
terms of the actual finishes, the parts and pieces on the outside of the building, I see that as that's an easy thing to fix to achieve
Right.
what you want. We can swap it out to cedar shakes,
Right.
and we can. That's an easy.
now
There's no
this-
way, sorry to interrupt, there's no way by just changing the materials that this has to, I don't know how we're ever going to get there architecturally based on what we have here.
Okay.
Excuse me, I
So
interrupted.
to
you.
give him some help.
Yes, I think that's
why
what
don't
we're
you
trying
think
to
about
do.
hiring someone like Bob Hefner, who's an historic preservation architect here in town, who has enormous experience in all this stuff, and let him guide you, because he will take you to the right place. This is not the right place.
Right. I that's good advice. But I think if we could just look through these,
Nothing to look at.
right. Well, I mean, I would like to give him commentary on each elevation. If there's some salvageable element to one of the elevations, I'd like to be able to come up with some sort of positive. I want to be able to go away and go back to someone and say, we need more of this and less of that, or something. I mean, I think Frank's point that the program is dictating the building is key, and that one of the challenges that we have in our community, part of the reason East Hampton looks as nice as it does is because we have a law that doesn't permit 10,000 square foot buildings and up. We don't have big box stores. We don't want big box stores. Look at our meeting room. This is
I grew up here. so,
oh,
yeah.
okay. I was unaware. Okay, so you understand. But that's why this is, well, then I would ask you, if you grew up here, then you might be the person to work with your architect to see, what will, what a good representation of the kind of architecture we're looking for here is, so that, I mean, honestly, I'm whoever drew this, I felt like has not spent much time in this community, because they would have a better understanding of what would have been acceptable. And I see that you're making a comparison of the elevation presently in the new concept. But right there, just the massing right there, and you look at the tree line that's behind what's existing on that. I guess that's a second story. It's sort of 1.5 stories there.
Yeah, the tree line that would be the trees on 3 Mile Harbor.
Yes. So that they'll be obscured completely by a building of this size. It's this mass. It's just the massing. I find the massing sort of startling. Well, anyway, I'm sorry that this has not been a more positive experience for you. I have empathy for your position, but this is our job, is to give you the feedback that you need to go back and get a design that'll work better. If there's something more specific we can offer, we'll do our best. We'll send our comments to planning. And you'll certainly get a copy of that. I don't know if anybody else has anything that they would like to offer the applicant.
I want to close by saying I don't have any empathy. I'm honestly offended that this would even be proposed. I think it's I just, it amazes me just with the resources that presumably a real estate developer has to build something this prominent in East Hampton, that we would go even down this path. And I realize that sounds a little personal and petty, but this is very difficult to move forward
Okay.
from.
I think we all share Frank's general position, but please just take this back to your people and start over if you wouldn't mind. Okay. Thank you. Do you have any other questions for us, or you're good?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Thanks very much. Okay, let's all take a deep breath, one of those cleansing breaths, right? Okay, number 3, M&T Bank, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-189-1-2. Is Miss Sliwa? Oh, no, I'm sorry, sir. What was your name? I knew you were
My
coming.
name is Mike Hyman.
Mike
I'm a
Hyman.
senior construction manager with M&T Bank.
Okay,
Address is 180 South Clinton Avenue, Rochester, New York.
okay. Rochester, you're all the way from Rochester?
Somebody is going to zoom in.
Yeah, it's very possible that Doug Shire Architectural.
I don't think there's any problem.
Okay, well.
LTV, is there somebody waiting in the waiting room?
Do we have anybody in the waiting room? Who is with us tonight? Matt? Is it Matt?
Yeah, I'm checking right now.
Okay.
So
No,
while he's
no one
doing,
waiting, but we have Evelyn Silva.
That's the
Evelyn,
person.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the way this works, Mr. Hyman, is that the assigned board member will give their review, and then we'll ask you for any clarification or comments you might like to make. Okay, and it's the Diane Benson show tonight. In case anybody didn't
Okay.
notice. Yeah.
This application has been before us 3 times already, and we have found everyone to be very compliant with our suggestions, and we're very appreciative. And now, basically, I think you're here not because we just wanted a clarification that this kiosk, this shed that holds the ATM machine, because it was so the People's Bank. It was so blue and it was so obvious. And I think we wanted assurance that this was the final intention, which I spoke to Evelyn, and from what information you've provided, this seems to be totally what you're applying for. It seems to me to be very discreet, and it certainly is within keeping. And there are some light fixtures which I photographed before. That was my one question, because there's no mention of the light. But Evelyn was very nice, and she got back to me and said that the lighting is to remain in situ as it was, which is, there it is. So I think that everything is, I see no problems.
It looks terrific when you
Everything is
drive
in
by.
order. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I think
much-
everything is
Yeah,
fine.
the white is much nicer. Does anybody have any questions for Diane?
I will say this is probably the largest ATM enclosure I've seen.
Maybe other
Seems
things
to
happen.
work.
Yeah.
Right.
That-
If
that
anything
was
else
existing.
happened.
But
Yeah,
it
that was the
Right.
existing one.
Right.
And
No,
was
it
good.
was. Yeah, no, that looks,
Right.
it looks much better.
But it works.
Mr. Hyman, did you have any comments?
Yeah, so you've made my job very easy. What I had done is I'd ask Evelyn and her team if they could just do a quick sketch for me that would show the existing next to the proposed. And I printed them out about an hour ago. So if you don't mind, I'd love to just share these with
Oh,
you
yes,
folks
sure.
and walk you through, just so I can explain what it is that we're trying to do.
Okay. Would you make sure that the planner has a copy too?
Thank
As
you.
a general rule, I don't like to take submissions at the meeting, because then the public cannot have the benefit of that visual, but I guess given that
Chair, if
there's
you
no
want.
particular hang up here, we'll make an exception in this case.
There are no changes to that original drawing. It's just clarifications.
Okay, that's my understanding.
Make it easy for me to be able to explain to you folks. As you can see, what I had provided to you, the picture on the right-hand side that I've outlined in the blue,
The bubbles, yeah.
that's the face of a existing kiosk structure that somebody has cut off and put the face in the building. So what we're proposing is to take that out and then rebuild the face of the building, what you see on the left side, and then put the ATM back into the opening that's needed for that for service clearances.
I see.
And the new ATM will be serviced from the front, not the back. And I'll have to agree with you, Frank. It's probably one of the biggest ATM buildings that we ever have out here. But it's here and it works. And basically, we're going to try and match what we think was the architectural details of what the face of that building would have looked like before. So what you're seeing on the screen is definitely what we're going to end up with. And as you had mentioned, Diane, we have been in front of the board. We were here, obviously, for the signage and in requirements to keep it to 32 square feet for the whole property. We reduced the M&T logo on this one, and it's just letters, not lit, where we're going to put that back in and meet the criteria for the site. As far as the lighting goes, the lighting's not going to change, but as everybody knows, there is a New York State ATM lighting law that we have to follow. But at this point, we're assuming it was okay with people's, and we're not making any changes to the lighting. And I thought there was 3 things. There was just that.
Okay.
I think it's terrific.
Yeah. So just to be clear, so the one on the one we're looking at on the right is what's existing, which you've taken a photograph of. And so the image that we're looking at on the screen moves the M&T Bank logo just to above the actual ATM machine once that face is reconstructed. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay.
And I think the big thing here is we all knew it used to be blue, and you asked us to make it white, and we did real quick.
It was a powerful.
Well, we're glad you didn't make it green.
All right, I think that we're satisfied and thank you. So I make a motion to accept this application as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you
Good to
very
go.
much.
Thank
folks. I
you.
Thank you,
appreciate
Al.
Get back to Buffalo.
I'm headed back up to Portland, Maine. So
Oh, well, that's
thank you
better.
very much.
That's
Maine
better.
is good. We were just there.
Okay. All right. Next up, number 4 is Salvatore and Carol Vitale. This is actually the Ocean Dunes. Is it a condominium complex? I
Yes.
forget. Yes,
Yes.
Ocean Dunes condominium, which we will correct our agenda to indicate the commercial nature of this.
Co-op? Oh, it's a co-op.
I knew it was something like that. Okay. Hi, are you Miss Vitale?
I am, Carol.
Welcome, Carol. Chip, this is yours. Oh, I beg your pardon. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-190-02-16. Okay.
This is an application to replace windows, slightly increase the width of a sliding glass door, and remove one exterior door. This is at the Ocean Dunes Apartments, which is on Bluff Road. The project is the result of combining 2 corner front units into one. The units are on the ground floor, left-hand side if you're looking at the building, and not visible from the street at all. One unit, number 113, has already been renovated, and that's the unit on the left, with new windows and doors matching the originals. And unit 112, which is the door on the right that was previously up, the new windows and door replacements will essentially match the existing originals. A 5-foot slider on the other side of the apartment under a covered porch will be replaced with a 7-foot slider to provide more light, which is very much needed there. It's a very dark area. One of the 2 front doors, which we just saw in the front, will be blocked in and finished with material to match the existing facade. All these changes are very minor in keeping with the existing architecture of the complex, and overall will be a plus for the complex as it reduces the overall number of units.
Okay.
That's the door on the right, Carol, right? That'll be replaced. That'll be taken out, the one on the right, yeah. And the one on the left, which is the renovated unit, that'll become the main door for these 2.
I see. Okay. Right.
And those are the typical windows. That's a replaced window in the one they've already done.
Okay.
It's very minor stuff here.
Okay. All right. Did you have anything you'd like to add, Ms. Vitale? Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Chip or Ms. Vitale? Okay. Well, thank you for that. Your usual thoroughness. Chip, we appreciate that. If you'd like to make a motion.
So I make a motion to approve this project as submitted.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, you're good to go. Thank you and good luck. Okay, now we're into fences, walls, gates, and berms. The first is Dean Brodsky, Suffolk County Tax Note number 300-118-1-11.3. Are you Mr. Brodsky?
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Frank, this is yours.
Okay. 48 Jonathan Drive is a new house on a quiet residential street in Northwest Woods. The house appears mostly complete and is listed for sale. The applicant is requesting approval for a retaining wall on the west side of the property that exceeds 6 feet. In its current form, the retaining wall is concrete CMU block, and I measured the highest point at 7 feet 2 inches above grade. My assessment is that this retaining wall, though atypical, is acceptable in its scale and location because it appears the top is no higher than existing grade. This wall is also set back from the east property line at least 40 feet, so it is set back from the owner to the west. The owner removed part of the hill to make, or it appears the owner removed part of the hill to make the grade level to build the house, and by doing so, the house actually sits rather low on the site on the west side of the property if one considers what appears was the natural grade before construction. That said, I do question the wall's finish in its current form and would like to hear from the applicant what plans, if any, there are to finish the wall and or put something atop the CMU blocks. Separately, though not part of this application, the owner should be aware that the 2 wooden pool gates that face the street exceed the maximum height for gates and fences. The tops of these gates are both 6 feet 8 inches.
Oh my, okay.
So,
Okay.
We
right.
were planning on planting Boston ivy to cover up the wall. We weren't aware that the gates were higher. We could lower them, of course.
I'm sorry, the gates were higher and then I didn't hear.
We weren't aware that the gates were higher than
code.
Right.
Yeah. So we could
Okay.
lower them.
Okay, they're, just so you know, they're measured from grade to the top of the gate. So if the gate itself is 6 feet, you're already over,
Got
and is the fencing there 6 feet 2? Is that the fencing looks shorter? Am I?
fencing is shorter.
The pool
Okay.
fencing?
6 feet.
Yeah, I think that's
So the
pool
fencing is at
fencing.
4 feet?
Yeah, it's 4 feet.
But the gate is 6 feet.
6
6,
feet,
8.
6, 8.
inches. Yeah.
Right. So right.
with a metal frame.
Okay, it's
be
a little
difficult.
incongruous.
Very opaque too.
It's well, is it shingled? Is that?
Yeah,
is that
cedar
the-
shingle.
Okay.
Can you flip to a photo that shows the top of the wall?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it was back one.
Yeah.
Back detail.
Back one more. Try one.
Keep going.
I don't think he can see what he's looking
So
for.
It's really just that one course of block at the very top that you see. That
No. Will, can you, I want to see a up close. Yeah. Yeah. I might help if he sees the screen.
You need
Yeah.
the screen.
I don't understand why he doesn't.
There we go. So that's what the top of the wall looks like.
Yes,
It's
it's
kind of
cement block.
unfinished.
Yeah,
Oh, it's cement block.
Yeah.
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 it's CMU filled with
Right. It's CMU filled with concrete. So I don't know, it's a question of the board. Is that something that we want to see? I mean, if anything, I would think you'd want to cap that with even a concrete block.
We just didn't want to finish it because we didn't know what the outcome of this.
Slate risers like.
The slate risers would be nice. I'm not so wild about the face of it.
So,
He said he's going to plant the Boston ivy.
Uh-huh.
so the ivy goes up or down?
It's
Grows up or down?
And is that is Boston ivy?
it grows in all directions.
Yeah.
Is that a year round? It stays green year round.
Or semi-evergreen.
Well,
Is
it loses.
It loses.
You might want to
It
look
loses,
at
but-
climbing hydrangea.
Okay.
The deer, you gotta be careful. The ivy's pretty good, actually. Yeah. And there's no,
The Boston ivy.
you don't need Boston ivy.
The problem is
They don't want climbing hydrangea.
English ivy is year round, but it takes forever. So the Boston ivy is
Well, the climbing
more
hydrangea is
aggressive.
fast.
Right.
just was looking into this today.
Okay, well,
Clematis.
I mean, it's, you know, it's concrete block. I don't think it's that offensive because you're not really up close to it. But if you could go to maybe the first photo, just so everyone knows what it looks like from the street.
Yeah, that's what I
Or the
wanted
next
to
one.
know,
It's-
how visible it is. And
It's not.
You know, it's
at its highest height,
7.2
7.2.
is what I
well, the
get.
application
The application says 8, but
feet, yeah.
I guess if you once you add, you know, that coursing, then you
Oh, I
get
see.
closer
Yeah,
to
it'll
8.
come to
So,
8, yeah.
um,
Well, so wouldn't we need to have before we can approve this one, we need to have the proposed capping?
well, I mean, if you're
And-
going to just cap it with a
Slight-
2-inch, right?
Okay.
Then, I mean, we need to know from you what that would be for CO. I mean, this is something that we could settle with approving sort of certificate of occupancy. The only thing is once you, obviously, because it's concrete and there's mortar involved, it's
Yeah,
difficult
it's
to
not a,
modify it.
yeah, if it,
But-
yeah, right, if it doesn't. I would recommend that you resubmit with the cap, whatever you're planning to cap it with, and the landscaping.
Can I just commit to the slate capping so that we don't have to come back here?
You don't have to come here, but you'll have to submit we'd have to put it back on our agenda
Okay.
and review the proposed materials, because that's our job.
Okay.
Um,
Meaning bring a sample or?
Yeah, a
Okay.
sample would be great.
Okay.
And then describe what where you plan to put it, so that we have a complete understanding. And then if you could also submit, the proposed plantings for the wall, just to.
This is a good time to plant.
Yeah, it is a good time to plant.
We were told spring by our landscapers.
Really? Maybe
Yeah.
they're busy. This is really a good
Good
time.
time.
Really a good
You
time.
should
I think the
listen
availability, no, the
You
availability.
should
is the-
listen to Diane. She really knows. If she says it's a good time, it's a good time.
I'm not,
Well,
I think it's more from the availability is what they were saying.
the Boston Ivy, well, that shouldn't.
That's what we
But
were
this
told.
is a really good time to plant, whatever.
I'll be out there.
But it's fading fast. It's fading fast.
Right.
So
Okay.
are we all okay with
I-
the wall and not requesting any like finish put on it? I mean, my view is if you start to like stucco it, then it's actually going to stand out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't
I'm
mind it.
fine with it.
They
Yeah.
covered it's fine.
I don't like it as it is. If it's going to be covered with plantings, I can accept that. I don't think a cement block wall is an attractive piece, and I don't think that's in keeping with the harmony and characteristic of our
Yeah, I'm
community.
expecting like crushed glass on the top,
But
the impression it's giving.
but if you can,
I just want to ask, why did you go with the block versus poured concrete? Because I see tons of poured concrete walls.
Originally, we were going to pour it, but then the foundation subcontractor, he was finished, and then we hired someone else, and this is what they did.
Okay.
We also thought it was going to be out of concrete.
Hmm.
It was just easier for them for some reason.
This is a big thing around town. It's not you, but everywhere these new houses are going up, they want to sell them as flat lots. And to create flat lots,
yeah, you've got
there's
to put in a
tons of
retaining
walls
wall.
like this
Yeah,
going
that's
up
right.
everywhere
Yeah,
with
Good
big
point.
changes in grade.
good point. Okay, so
The pedestrian gates, we're just requesting that they be lowered to 6 feet. I mean,
to 4 feet, if they are,
Well,
oh,
that's-
to
that's
6
what-
feet.
well,
I-
I'm asking
I
the
mean,
question.
Okay, no, it's a good question, but that's not part of the application.
it's not. but-
So.
Building inspector's
um,
going to catch it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so you're going to have a problem to get the CO on those gates. I would recommend that you lower them, and I would make them more transparent if you can.
Yeah.
When you come before us, our recommendation to you would be to make them transparent and keep them at 4 feet. Just leave it at the same height as the fence. That's not what we're doing tonight, but I'm just giving you that so you can take that
more
going
transparent,
forward,
meaning take the cedar shingles off.
or some of them. So you can,
If you're interested in 4 feet, you can do whatever you want.
that's true.
Right.
That is
That's
true.
true. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you want to go to 6, yeah, I think it sounds like the board taking 8 inches off the current design doesn't sound like the board is on board
Is on board.
Yeah, we're not on board with that. Yeah.
So 4 feet.
So basically making it sort of like the fence material.
Okay.
Yeah,
Transparent.
something you can see through.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Okay. Did you have any other questions for us, Mr. Brodsky?
So will you need to see the ivy already planted prior to approval, or?
No, just.
No, as long as you're,
Proposal?
just give us a sample, give us the description of the plant, the plant that you're planning to install and show us where it's going to go, it should be part of the landscaping plan, I should think. Is that what he has to submit, a
I
landscaping
mean, it's going to grow up the wall. Really, it's not.
It's pretty basic.
Right, I understand. I'm just saying, how we need to landmark these things in the file. And that's what I'm
Submit
trying to.
The plant material. I mean, that's, yeah,
Yeah, a
like
spec sheet
a
with it.
spec sheet.
Yeah,
like a
just some
section.
kind of a descriptive sheet that tells us what you're,
Photograph of ivy.
a photograph of the
Just
kind of ivy. Yeah, I'm sure you can find
Just
something.
write it, you can just like sketch in over that photograph and draw ivy growing up it,
Or something like that.
just so it's on record.
I think you could use a description. I think that might be just as good.
Okay.
Instead of well, that's something you could probably do really easily, Frank, but I'm not sure everybody else can.
I love drawing ivy.
Well, that's great. Maybe you can do it for him. Okay.
Okay.
So is that good? Are you good? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
So
luck.
This is incomplete
Okay.
for the moment.
This is incomplete.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So number 6, Kara Rakowski, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-74-3-3. Is Mr. Rakowski here? Oh, it's our old friend, Mr. Rakowski. How are you? Good to see you again. Okay, Chip, this is you.
So this application is for driveway gates, a keypad, lighting on the posts, and a lower deer fencing on an 0.8 of an acre lot far up Hands Creek Road. This applicant has been before us 3 times this year, April, June, and August, with plans, and we've asked him each time to consider some changes to the plans, which he has done to the letter. They've reduced the side yard deer fencing to 4 feet, which we requested. They provided us with plans for a natural cedar set of posts and gates 4.5 feet tall, which we requested. They're going to be 16 feet wide, 50% transparent, set back 20 feet from the property line, and when you take the right of way, probably about 30 feet from the road. The lighting on the post is dark sky compliant. The keypad will be very much on their property. Applicant has done everything we've requested to the letter. I see no reason not to approve this application.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay. And does anybody have any questions for Chip or Mr. Rakowski? Thank you. Okay.
And I make a motion to approve this application as submitted.
May I have a second, please? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you.
Go in peace.
Go quickly.
Next step is, is
A
there
CO.
CO?
Yeah.
Do I get it through your office?
You have to type up the resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night. Okay, next up is an extension of time. Andrew Tajani. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-80-10-7. Ms. Brownza, this is yours. Is someone here to represent? Hi, Deborah, are you here for this? Okay, great. Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm Deborah Chorin of Matthews, Kirsten Cooley.
Yep.
So I have, as you probably know, been to this site a few times, and I know that this has been before us at least 3 times last year, I guess. And I just wanted to ask you, what was the delay in fulfilling the resolution? What has been the delay since it's expired 2 years ago, the actual resolution?
Yep.
Yes. So David Kirst of our office had originally handled the application to obtain permits for what was built, frankly. And so he did a lot of work with the client at that time. This then came to my desk. I do a lot of the justice court work. So because Mr. Tajani had not built to his permits in the amount of time before they expired, we are frankly in justice court. So now I'm here trying to get an extension of time so that we can bring the property into compliance.
Can we see the pictures, Will?
There's a picture, I think, of the driveway gate as it is existing, not that.
Yes.
Okay, so the approval that was, this was approved on February 23rd, 2017. For the relocation of a pre-existing black metal driveway gate and flat stack stone pillars to be moved back 24 feet from the edge of pavement. So are you saying that hasn't been done yet?
That has not. So
see.
when I was brought on the application, our legal assistant at the time simply tried to renew the building permit. We became aware that the ARB approval had already expired. So I've been working with, the Justice Court and the client to try and get our ducks in a row with the permits to get them all current,
Right.
to try and then bring the property into compliance.
And why is it in justice court?
Because this does not, as it is right now, this does not have approval. So what you're looking at right now is not approved. The application is to bring these columns down, remove those urns, no lighting, and push it back 24 feet. So I understand that when you go to the property, it is somewhat shocking, but what you're seeing there on site is not what we're seeking approval for.
Correct.
Right,
It was
well,
built, it was built without approval.
Right, right.
It's
So that's why
also in the right of way. So
So why, he's had several years to do this.
Yeah.
Why hasn't the
That was,
applicant done it?
that was when his initial
mean,
question.
It
Yeah.
sounds like a perpetual delay on his part.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that, but we are seeking an extension of time to bring it into compliance now. Since the last meeting, I appreciated the board's tabling it to this point, to try and work with you to get the extension of time so that we can push through the process.
Right. One of the problems I'm having with it, Deborah, is that when, we are, one of our requirements is a current survey, that shows all the structures that are on the property. And this survey is from 2016,
correct.
which predates the original approval. So we don't even have a current survey, I think, to,
Which
for
would
the extension of time. So
Well, does the survey from the date of the original approval reflect everything that's on the property today?
I have no way of knowing that.
Okay.
Right.
I can tell you it doesn't. I mean,
Okay.
at least that picture that we'll put up at first that had sort of a gazebo structure, I don't think I see it on the.
and the survey that I have
survey.
has hand notations in it, which is another thing that we're
It's
not.
on the right side. If we looked at the survey, it's on the right side of the property. Where there's also a pedestrian gate that's, I think, if I recall, over 6 feet and is also in the right of way.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
There's also 6-foot fencing in the front yard that has never been removed.
Right.
There's a low stone wall that's in the right of way. I mean, we've discussed this in the past. Every time I've gone back there, nothing changes.
So why would we even give you an extension of time? Why doesn't he just get this thing going and take this down?
Well, he needs a building permit.
He
for
needs
that.
a building permit. They won't renew our building permit without.
Does he need a
without
building
the-
permit to remove the
No.
fencing in
No.
the front yard?
No.
Well,
I'm just asking, that's
sure, absolutely. I mean, as an attorney, with this being in justice court, it would always be my counsel to have your ducks in a row with your permits before you start undertaking work, particularly when it's been so contentious. So that is why we've moved through the process as we have.
So the extension of time would normally be for 3 years.
Hmm.
I can see no reason to give this applicant a 3-year extension
Yeah.
of time.
No.
3 years from now, you're going to be back here telling us some crazy story of why.
Okay, well,
Well, I think
let's
the
not-
point is more
The
that the
applicant has to say.
circumstances have changed in the sense
I-
of
yes.
when
Right.
this was approved, there have been additional structures erected, and this was never addressed.
right.
So
yeah.
that's where I think we are hesitant with
Yes.
this extension of time.
Right.
if you
I
understand.
absolutely.
It might be the best thing to just make a new application at this point with a current survey. And we can also get the structures that are on the property. You can loop the whole thing in, because I think
Cleaning it up.
I'm very reluctant to issue an extension of time on a survey that's 6.5 years old, for an extension of time that's, its approval is already 2.5 years old, because that was February of 2017, and this is the end of 2022. So, I understand that things go wrong. I was once married to a builder and, nothing in my house ever got finished. So I know how that goes. But I think in this instance, we would likely need you to reapply and just start this process over. And then maybe we can get it all, and as you say, get the ducks in a row in a coherent way,
Right,
so
bring
that,
everything
and
into
comprehensive way,
compliance,
so that it's not this piecemeal business, and get a proper survey to submit.
I absolutely understand that hesitancy. And to some of those points, the reason that we have sought an extension of time as council is because we do feel that the applicant has a vested right in what was approved with regard to the gate and the columns and that aesthetic. So should we bring a new application, the fear then is that there would be action and maybe a punitive light where you would say, never mind, you may only have a 4-foot, we won't even approve a 6-foot, you'll only,
Oh, well, I mean, I have to, I mean, I have to say that, we have enough integrity to honor the approvals, the past approvals, and 3 of the members of this board were on the board at the time of this approval. So I don't think that would be anybody's, you weren't, well, 2. Anyway, the point is, if you had an approval for a certain structure, at defined heights and distances and so on and so forth, that would be the landmark to go forward. Right now, and I can't speak for the whole board, but I think that challenges the integrity of this board in some way that I'm really uncomfortable with.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
So
it like that. Yeah.
I feel as though, I understand the concern. I understand that we're, dotting our I's and
So
crossing our
that
T's.
survey that's in the previous approval, right? That resolution refers to a survey?
Yes.
We
Yes.
don't know if that survey is current or accurate, so why would we extend, something that's potentially incorporates by reference uncurrent survey? I don't think that's a good practice to kick it down the can for 3 years if there's.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that I'm most uncomfortable with, is just that the survey is so old, and we've turned other applications away because the survey is not current.
Right.
So I feel like that is a gateway issue for me. And then the rest of it, I understand. I can make no guarantees. I'm one vote on this board, but it's certainly my intention to review the resolutions as approved by, the public has a right to expect that there's some consistency, even as the board personnel changes over time.
Right.
And I don't think anything that was proposed is, illegal specifically, but to my mind, there's been a change in circumstance with respect to your client's property, in that, the survey's outdated and there are structures on the property that exist that are not on the survey. So we are not able to really give a comprehensive response to that unless, and that's one of our requirements. A current survey, it's right on the application. It's got to be a current survey. So
I mean, there could be an extension of time modification if it was resurveyed, but that's just as,
yeah,
that's the same thing as doing a new
council
application.
advises if that's the route you want to take, I suppose
I'm
we
just
can do
thinking
that.
of-
But I'm trying to my mind, if you're really trying to clean it up, just make a new application and get the new survey in, and we'll deal with it.
And act in good faith.
Yes, we always act in good faith.
No,
That
not us.
goes
I
without
think
saying.
both
On both sides, yes.
Both sides.
Well, I understand.
Thank you.
I understand.
Yeah.
But I hope that helps you. I don't-
Absolutely.
because I think my inclination is to deny this an extension of time and ask you to resubmit.
So should
I don't think that you guys can properly vote on it if you're not unable to say that it's, if it's going to incorporate a survey that the applicant is unable to say is valid because she doesn't know if it's current. The
So we
extension of
can't
time
act
is
on
going to
this.
refer to that by reference.
I see. Okay.
And, until
Right.
we can be sure that that's
Okay.
current, I don't feel comfortable advising you guys
Okay.
to vote.
All right. Well, I think
Okay.
that's
That's
good
sound
advice.
advice, yeah.
Yes, that's good advice. So I think we're just going to have to not act on it, and it'll be up to you to
Understood.
proceed.
And I would also just present to the board that maybe to alleviate some concerns, there are other safety nets with regard to compliance that should catch us if we fall with regard to justice court and obtaining the CO. So in terms of approving the extension of time, if the board were inclined to do that, we would still have those safety mechanisms in place. We're not going to get out of justice court without coming into compliance. So I don't know if that helps alleviate some of the concerns.
I think for me, I'm just too uneasy with this survey. I'm just too uneasy with it. I don't know if that, I'm sorry that I understand that you're acting in good faith, they're trying to act in good faith, but I just, we've had far less complex applications come before us that we've turned back because the survey is.
We should have pulled this before it got on the
But
agenda.
that was my feeling too, but we didn't
Get to that in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Understood. I appreciate your time.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
so
Deborah.
much.
Good to see you.
You too.
Okay. All right. Agricultural overlay. Wainscott Farm View LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-197-08-10. 6 Osborne Farm Lane. Is Mr. Manier here? Hi, how are you?
Hi, board.
Welcome. Okay, Esperanza, this is yours. Okay.
Thank you for your very comprehensive letter of September, which I read and have made
It's been 5
note
months,
of it
so
all.
I thought it may help.
It's been 5 months since you've been here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, since the first
The
time.
first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, May.
First one.
May was the first,
26th,
26th, and then
The most
we met
recent was
again in
August.
August, and then you sent your letter in September. From that letter, following the May review, I can give you, to inform the rest of the board, you reduce the first floor window and door heights 6 inches to 9 feet, raise the sill height, reduce the width of most of the sliding doors, tall windows, and rear transoms to 4 feet. The primary bath windows was split to 2 windows. You added louvers to the primary bedroom gable window. And I don't know, Will, if you want to show any
Will Highland.
images. Yeah, sorry. I keep forgetting.
We've got to.
Reduce the size of the front door and the window above by 2 feet in width, shorten the transom above the stair window. The 6 front windows in the middle section of the residence were reduced by 18 inches. The garage windows on the east side were adjusted, and the pool fence was adjusted to align with the pool. Then, after August, our meeting in August, and we met with you, Will Manier, architect, member Guittard, and I, to go over sort of as a preliminary review of what you were proposing with modifications. And after that, from your September letter, you indicate that you reduced the mass and scale and glazing of the primary bedroom. The wall was lowered to 9 feet height. The wall was lowered to 9 feet and the height of doors and windows to 8 feet to match the rest of the house. The roof pitch was steeper. 4 columns at the rear covered porch instead of what was originally proposed, which I think were 3.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be centered underneath the volume of the primary bedroom. You added louvers to the cabana window that's on the left, first ground floor.
Mm-hmm.
Reduced the mass and scale of the garage with new roof line. And can you turn that around? Cool little thing, because this was
This is great. This is such a great
This was
tool.
a big point of our discussion, was the way that the garage
The garage,
presented.
Right.
The lower first floor front middle roof line, lowered the first floor front middle roof line 12 inches and reduced the size of 3 first floor windows for scale.
Those are small.
Those are smaller. Again, they were reduced again. Is that
Yeah.
what I'm understanding? Okay. So you indicate that the total reduction in glazing is 24.1%. So I think if you have anything to add, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted me to go over some of the specifics. There are also color renderings in addition to that model, which the model might be helpful to spin around and see different angles and roof lines. And I explained to you when we met, just gives a different sort of proportion to the house, I think, than the still shots, which sometimes the perspective and all are a little harder to see. The renderings I sent, I put a little snippet of the previous version next to it. All good stuff. Yeah, all what you described. I think changing the pitch, the roof height, the windows, which ended up being 35 square feet of glass we removed from that master volume, really integrated the volume into the house more. The columns were a good idea, gave a little strength to the bedroom and grounded a little bit. And the garage. I mean, it doesn't feel like a big garage door on that little shed roof. And the whole roof line lowered. I mean, we dropped the ridge of that garage 3 feet from the original location. So all good suggestions. Hopefully it all is enough. We're reducing the mass and scale of some areas.
So I think he's looking for the renderings that you were talking about also.
So it was a PDF that was sent.
There you go.
So I think it's that one right there, 913.
Yeah, that was the one I just had opened.
Yeah.
It was one what I sent in the link to the 3D model.
Oh, yeah, I can pull it up.
Thanks, Julie.
The garage door scale also is different. You might not have picked up on that. The divisions of the glass door are a little different, which I think helped the scale also of the garage door.
I'm sorry, I missed that comment.
The garage door previously shown had a much smaller panel.
Oh.
And it's a larger panel now, believe it or not. It looks less.
The glass panels, you mean?
Glass panels, yeah. Less divisions of glass. And remember, that's opaque. Zero light will come through that door.
So you said you put in the email that you sent that had the link in it?
Architect Will?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Are all the doors and windows then, am I to understand correctly from your letter that they're at 8 feet?
On the
high?
second floor, yes. The second floor.
On the
they're all
second
8 feet,
floor
yes.
only? Okay.
Yeah, before the volume of the master was a little larger scale and they were 9 feet, yes.
So the ones on the first story remain at 9 feet?
Yeah, from the 9.6 there to 9 feet.
From
So
nine-
there's a
that's
side by
right.
side, the same perspective, the before and after. See the difference? This wall is not as tall. We lowered that a foot. That also fascia relates to this fascia. This peak is dropped by 3 feet, and that allows us to pull it forward to make the garage door not feel so sort of big in that gable there. And on the rear, if you want to go to one of the rear shots. That's the other front, yeah, next one. So on the rear, you'll see the pitch of this. This was much flatter. It would actually stuck above the reverse roof there. It's now aligned. So this fascia runs around. All these doors were lowered, which is actually ended up being 35 square feet of glass in reduction. The two columns sort of relating to the mass, I think ground's a little better. And the louvered window, we pushed that window in so we could put louvers in there to break that up.
I'm interested in knowing, Frank, because you're seeing this now for the first time.
Yeah. So I was curious also what other people on the board said, because we had worked together and sketched through this. So
yeah.
So here are a couple of comments. Go back to the previous page, the entry. I think the massing of the garage is working better with all the roof pitches, the volumes kind of in the same, as opposed to where we had the previous garage. Yep. I'm still having a bit of an issue. There's another rendering from maybe the page before or page. I'm still having an issue with this little window to the left of the front door, the little clear story window above. I mean, I understand. I think you were sort of insinuating that the clients were really pushing this. I get it that they want to see the sky, but to me, it would. I'm having an issue with that window.
Also, if I could just interrupt you for a minute, I noticed you added a skylight right above that stair.
That was in the previous submission, yeah.
Not in the current?
No, not this version. That was the previous version, yeah. If you look on the drawings, that if we didn't point that out, I apologize, yeah. That was on the previous submission.
I have September 15, 2022.
On the roof
Yes,
line?
I see a skylight. I highlighted it.
Yeah, and in the previous,
Is that the old?
the
No,
previous,
this
it was in there in the previous one, I believe.
So you carried it over is what you're saying?
Oh, you were carried it over? It was always there?
It wasn't in the initial one. It was in the
Yeah,
second
that's what
one,
I was
and we carried it
comparing.
over to the third one. Yes.
Well, I think it was added then in the second
In the
round.
second one, it was added.
Mhm.
Yes.
So there's plenty of light in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's plenty of light. I mean, I think that window has to do also with there'd be a blank space in the wall. I mean, it's one thing we kind of discussed with even eliminating some of the windows in the back elevation. Yeah. I mean, there'd be a big blank there, as opposed to even pulling that window up to eliminate the transit and make it one big tall window.
Then you hit the fascia. Then you hit the roof. If you do that.
Not if you go.
Just this window.
Pull it up, yeah.
I think
little
he's talking
Pull the
about,
bottom
yes,
Make this one.
just make it
giant
one
window,
big
Which
window.
was more the first
That's the first vision, yeah.
was more along that line.
I mean, it aligns with the little shed over the front door now, so it's like
Right.
it's one plane. I kind of like that,
I
but
do too.
it might
Although
seem out of scale if you make that thing, but it'll be the size of the window above the front door.
I mean, I think the question is why the window at all, that small one, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It has something, you were saying it has something to do with
Skylight
the
over
stair
it.
going up and.
Yeah, so that's a 1.5 story wall. And the stair comes up here, you kind of see the railing to a platform and then over again. So there's when you walk up this way, the opportunity to see out. And it again, it kind of follows the slope. It has a similar negative space to that from the inside as you know, this is cathedral foyer there. We feel there's a lot of good reasons to have that window there.
I mean, functionally, I get it. It's just from an ARB standpoint of view, I'm not a fan of that little window. I think that the elevation would look better without it. That's my personal view.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's one comment. If we go to the back, now I'll remind the board that that front elevation that we're just at, I think you're not going to see that too much from the street. It's
Right.
pretty private.
I don't see it.
This
see
is
it at all. Yeah.
This is more something you'll see
Public view, yeah.
more public, granted in the distance
Mhm.
over the fields, but this is facing an agricultural.
Right, I think that was the
Yeah.
concern about
So
the
that was the
fenestration and
concern.
any
Um,
introducing light into that. Yeah. So
I
this
mean, if
is,
you're asking how I'm feeling about this, I feel like we're getting there, but I'm having a problem with this master bedroom. I always have. And I don't know.
Because it juts out.
I think it's that, and also it seems taller. The massing of that aspect of this elevation is what troubles me. If it was, shorter and maybe shrunk in a little bit more, not as, it's the prominent feature on that elevation to my mind.
What's the triangle above the three doors? Is that glass?
Yeah, so it was originally glazing in the original submission, and we just, we put louvers. We'll have
Right, well,
fixed
that's
wood
helpful.
grills in front of that, which will eliminate
That'll cut down on
a third of the light.
So here, I think it looks much
Yeah.
different than there. Here, it's darker, so it like.
Yeah. I mean, this is a rough model.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at your
Yeah, it's a
PDF
rough-
of, like,
yeah, it's a massive
pixelated. This
model.
is more of a proper rendering.
Yeah.
It's just the whole, it's like a nose, I don't know.
Do you have the side elevation or renderings of the sides, or continue anyway?
I mean, I have 2D
keep going
drawings,
down.
straight drawings of the sides. The 3D model, again, you can spin it around if you want to see the sides.
Could we maybe pull the board and get some thoughts?
Well, let Esperanza finish her evaluation.
yeah,
and Frank too, because the two of them have worked
Well-
closely with the applicant. And if they have more to say, I'd like to do that. And then we
I
can
sort
get
of said, I've said my thoughts
Simple.
about it. I think we've come, this is our third time reviewing this as a board. It would be the fourth time we've seen this. We had the meeting with Esperanza, the three of us. And I'm actually kind of curious what other people have to say, because I feel like, so I've sort of said
You said your piece.
Yeah.
I feel like I've sort of said my piece
Okay.
about it.
What about you, Diane? What's your sense?
I think it's much improved. That I don't know. It seems to me that the garage will always weigh that side of the property down. It just seems to be so massive.
The roof line too. The roof. Yeah.
It's sort of. I mean, the front door is so diminished.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but this is an odd shaped property, if I remember.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
quasi
like a
flag
neck
lot.
shot,
Yeah,
right?
you literally,
Craziest thing I've
you don't see the house from the street.
I understand that
Yeah.
there's limitations.
Yeah, Jesus.
I mean, you can see that. Yeah, if you the driveway, the cul-de-sac, the cul-de-sac should actually here. That's our property, so the streets may be here, and this is all a tree line. You catch glimpses from the street, but you're not going to ever perceive the front elevation of this house in its whole entirety.
What about you, Chip?
I think the applicant has come very, very far working with us. I mean, he's been here 3 times. The house is the house. I think we're just going to be torturing him if we keep up with this. I would be inclined to approve it.
Torturing is a strong term.
Yeah, don't say that in front of our council.
Yeah.
You may have to defend that. at some
Yeah, I mean,
point.
where I am is I feel like there's some things that I might do myself or like to see changed, but that's stepping into the role of being the architect, which
Yeah,
is not
that's
our
not our
role
job.
of the ARB. And this is, again, I agree with Chip. Like we're basically at meeting number 4 here about this, and if this is what your client really wants, and I think we have even I also thank you for making the suggestions by and large that we've like talked about as if I might say a team and trying to work through this. Yeah, I could approve it. I would like to see that window resolved, but I also recognize it's not a very visible window on the from a public standpoint of view. So that's where I stand.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to thank you because I know this has been a difficult process, and it's part of what makes this job difficult is that for us too, is that we have nice, reasonable applicants like yourself who are, trying to work with us on these things, and we're still kind of like, my personal feeling is that and I don't know whether it's a function of the size of the property, because to my mind, it's shaped like a necktie, it's just that we have filled it up entirely with building and driveway and so forth. And I understand that if it were rectangularly shaped, there may be more open space on it, but I get stuck on the ag overlay definition, which is meant to be preserving the land and not really developing it so much, that I know that's what's happening here, and I understand the subdivision, and I'm not challenging that, but that's where my conflict comes in, where the rub is for me, because it still feels to me like this is as big a house as could possibly, the massing on this house is as large as it could possibly be. And I understand it's what your client wants, but I openly wonder that from my perspective, where our role is to say, well, if what the client wants is it's still, if it's not really harmonious with the ag overlay district, when do we say, well, no, and I don't, I feel badly saying that to you because you've been a really good faith actor and you've come and worked with us and you've made adjustments as we've requested. But I'm struggling with this because I feel that the massing is too large in general. I take Diane's point about the garage. I think that the master bedroom is still an issue. I don't love that little window, but I could live with that. But at the master on the rear side, and I think you've really done. I have a lot of empathy for you because I know you're working with your client, and that you've got us. We're kind of your clients too, and your client, and we're just in very different arenas. So I recognize that conflict for you, but I just don't know if I'm doing my job to the degree that I'm supposed to be if I say, well, he's done it, he's been here a lot and he's made some minor changes and it's better, but it's still not what I would like to see. So I that's really all I have to say.
Is it worth anything? It's almost the same size as the house next door, and maybe that's not your favorite house, but the lot's challenging. I think that the lot in the back and that scenic easement, and it doesn't help.
No, it's crazy. It's a crazy.
But as far as scale and harmony, it's a very similar sized house next door.
I mean, it was done 30 years ago. It was poorly done, and now people are suffering because these lots are so awkward. If they all wanted to.
It's still a half acre, and I think the point that you just made is the one that I would go to because I'm listening to Kathy's comments, and they align with most of what my appreciation, which I think I haven't forcefully made that, but I think we've said it in our incomplete letters, that the mass and scale did not really fit with the neighborhood. But you just said the house next door is a similar size. I've looked at aerials of what this was before that house was built, and I look at it with the house built. What I'm seeing is, and we used the term earlier, you did, with regard to another application, is these homes being shoehorned into this little cul-de-sac. And so that's what I think Kathy's struggle is, if because I have the same one. And I agree, you have been more than cooperative. And like I said, perhaps I just wasn't as assertive, and I understand your client's needs for space, more space. It's and for the views, but how that can be reconciled with, rather than the views being their decoration, this is what, that goes away from it being the agricultural overlay. It's what Kathy made the point of preserving those lands and those vistas. And so the larger the mass and the scale, or the greater the mass and the scale, despite the fact that you've reduced the glazing, there's still a great amount of glazing. And then, we're looking at this field, across this field, with all of these homes that are being crammed into these lots, and it just goes against that principle of the agricultural overlay. Also, in my view, I was looking at I don't think it has, the survey doesn't have the building envelope, and I'm not the geek of setbacks, but there's roughly 15 to 18 feet on each side of the house. Is that about right? At the sort of at the narrow,
at the pinch point at sort of the corner meets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to look at those, what's existing and see how that presents, and and kind of try to appreciate what I think I'm trying to make a point of.
Articulate, yeah.
Articulate, thank you. If there was a way to
Shrink it down a little
shrink it
bit.
down.
Yeah. Keep the same design, just make it a little smaller.
Foyers, that's all that space. But he loves them.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
But I think that's where, this is where we're up against it. This is where the friction is, it's like what's permissible and what our opinion is of what.
Right, obviously, we're here, it complies with zoning, right? I think that you're
Yes.
getting at.
Well,
yeah.
yes, but this is an additional layer of review. So, and because of the agricultural overlay district, we have you before us.
Right.
And
So the zoning code is the zoning code, but this is part of.
yeah, we don't have to
No, I get it.
beat
And
that point.
Do you want to poll the board and get a sense of the
Yeah, I
direction?
think maybe that's probably a good idea. Frank, what's your sense?
I have to go first.
I'll go first. if you don't
Okay,
want to.
well, I think we know what you think, Chip, but you can go first.
I would approve it with the changes he's made to date.
Okay. Diane?
Yeah, I would approve it, given all the circumstances, but I think it's I don't know. I think the distribution of the space could be different and make for a different kind of living experience, but.
And a more sensitive one to the property, to the surroundings.
keep in mind, it's 2 bedrooms upstairs because of the property. I mean, it's.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a struggle.
Well,
It's a struggle.
You also have
question.
living
Yeah.
space probably in the lower level. I mean, it's,
Right.
that's.
Okay, Frank.
So I want to. Here's where I stand. I look at this on a map, and I think, regardless of like where we've gone through and how it actually has been a productive process, it seems to me a very sensitive site because it's just like from Wainscott Hollow Road that it's pretty visible. I don't know how to say this from Wainscott Hollow Road across the fields because it's right on it. I don't know how to say this, but I'm not there yet. And I'm sorry because I feel like I worked pretty productively on this, but the rear of I'm fine with the front elevation of the house. To me, it's the rear in the master bedroom that I don't know what's because to me it doesn't feel grounded with there not being a volume beneath it. It's the sort of the peak of that roof. It's the first thing that I said when we first looked at this, that I'm just not there yet with it.
So this is not anywhere near Wainscott Hollow Road. This is on Sarah.
But the point is,
The
it is
vista.
Bath and
It's
Main
about the
Street.
vista.
it is
the vista.
it's
Yeah.
that's where you see it. It's not like this is tucked in. It's sitting right on the edge of a field.
You want to pull up those
visible
aerials?
driving all the way up Wainscott Hollow Road
And the
across there.
vista is
across
part
here.
of our charge. Yeah, yeah.
I believe in the last submission, I submitted pictures which would show you the views.
Well, wait till all these guys get killed.
And I did go back and watch the last meeting again, and there were comments that you didn't have a problem with some of the scale and of the back elevation, and now it's changed. So,
Well, I mean, overall, actually, I'm not so objecting to the overall scale. And I think that I hear what other board members are saying about the scale and how the scale of Wainscott is changing. But I think if one were to actually pull this house further out, it wouldn't seem as big on the site. It's just where it is relative to its property boundaries feels tight.
we would love to, but there's
and I'm not asking.
There's an easement back there.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's tough that we've you're now questioning the whole project where you've given him feedback on windows and roof lines, and now you've gone back and started over again. I don't think that.
Starting over, we have made those comments before. So,
Right, but
please don't.
Yeah, let's
go there.
Yeah, no, I take your point, Chip, because I feel similarly. And as I said to Mr. Menier to begin with, his cooperation is so welcome, and he's been so great at that. It makes me feel bad that I'm not like, oh yeah, this is it, but that's not how I feel.
But then we should have questioned it more closely at the very beginning.
Well, I think we did, but I think part of the struggle for him is that, he can only make a recommendation for what his client's willing to accept. This is where I was saying the friction, he may even think we're right, but if he goes back to the client says, no way, he's employed by that person and has to come before us to get, he's in a tough spot. And I appreciate that.
This is client rated. Are you the client, sir?
No, that's Eric Brown.
Oh, Eric Brown. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Eric Brown. You're the lawyer. Eric Brown is the lawyer. Okay. Are you their lawyer?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you were here on this application. Yes. Hi, Eric.
That's what people would prefer lawyers do.
This is true. You got it. You know this job. It's nice to see you. But anyway, so I have empathy for this. I think he's made modifications that I don't want to make his client sound unreasonable, but I think he's made the modifications that his client's willing to accept. And that isn't necessarily what we think should happen. And therein lies the rub.
So let's give him some specific feedback about what he needs to do to make it acceptable.
Well, have we finished polling the board?
Yes. Oh, Esperanza,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
keep going through that. This is the houses. It's the one in the middle. So you have
What's
the one
not
on
there is the new house next door. though,
exactly.
which is
So
deceiving, yeah.
so you see, there's an empty lot there now.
Wow.
There is another photograph of that house under construction, if you can find
I'm
that.
not flipping for some reason.
We
it's a black screen.
have nothing right now. How is it possible this man has no screen? How can he possibly have that screen? This is crazy.
All right. Well,
We gotta
that's
fix this.
again with the
Where
empty
you
lot.
can actually see the screen.
Well, that might be, maybe he should sit over there.
There it is under construction. Okay. And then you see a little snippet of the existing house at that where the property we're discussing.
Which I was trying to get a sense of the distance it is to that property line, and it's similar.
Right. And so that's what I want to
Yeah, the front-
appreciate, for everyone to appreciate is how that sits on the property, which is not a necktie like this one.
The front corner of the existing house is almost the same distance off of this property line as what we're proposing.
Right.
Yeah, I understand that.
The other side's a little different. We basically expanded on that side of the property.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you go back to, I think there's one photo of the existing house. Oh, okay. So that's the little salt box.
Right. It's in New England salt box.
Mm-hmm. It's an intensification of development that I'm struggling with one after the other. One thing is that one of these properties was like the one next door was built the way it was, but then now each of them is being built that way. There's no.
All right. Well, we can't, I mean, that is relevant to the character of the neighborhood, but I think at this point we need to give Mr. Menier more focused, specific direction so that, I mean, if I'm reading the board correctly, I'm sensing that 3 of us would like to see something different and 2 of us are okay. Is that, would that be correct? But how? Yeah, exactly. Well, my suggestion, which may not be what everyone thinks, is I would reduce the mass and scale of the garage. I think that would help bring that roof down, maybe make it, a 1.5-story building.
So can we pull up the renderings?
Yeah. And then if there's something more you can do to the second floor in the master bedroom to reduce the mass and scale of that gable that comes out, that additional portion that comes out. So reduce the mass and scale of the garage.
That's a 1-story wall with
Yeah.
the same pitch as the rest of the house. The only way
Yeah.
to reduce that would be to change the
Right,
pitch,
I
which would
understand.
not
I
look,
don't know. So I don't know how to, I don't know how to advise you on that, but
which
it's
is where
just,
the shed roof, the old concept came into play, was to try to, reduce the roof line by
Yeah.
creating that shed over the garage.
yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Is that living space over the garage?
No, it's storage space.
It's just storage, but it's still, I don't know, somehow that roof just looks so big to me.
I mean, believe it or not,
what's the height of the garage door? 8 feet?
it's a 9-foot door.
9-foot door.
9-foot door. Yeah, he's got a
So it
he's got a
must be
pickup truck.
Up near 12 where the roof line starts, right? Where the roof meets the wall,
Mhm.
roughly. What do you say? 11 or 12? Yeah, if it's a 9-foot garage door, it's got to be 2 or 3 feet
That's a
there.
very high garage door. Couldn't it be made smaller?
Well, then if that, without lowering the roof line, the whole ridge, then it's going to actually
Look
look
worse.
even.
But I mean, it-
Well, that's
I think
true.
my
yeah.
garage door is like 7 feet high.
But yeah, I was thinking,
So the
Just
first
bring it
floor
down.
joist sits on the foundation, and so the roof eave aligns with the house, the rest of the house. And I just wanted to point, there were some
Yeah,
cues.
no, I get it.
You
I
mentioned the
see, yeah.
original house and the salt box, and there were some cues from this with sort of the continuation on the outside of the roof line coming down. And
yeah, no, I get it. I get
I
it.
mean, there were
Yeah.
some cues from that house, which we
Right.
even
No, I
tried to
see
keep in
that. I
this.
see that on each side. I don't know. I don't know. And then, well, let's just go to the bedroom is that the south elevation? I forget now. Yeah, that just seems. I mean, it is better with those posts, but it does seem to be floating there, and it seems like the prominent feature on the back.
It is.
And right, but it seems overly prominent to me. The scale of it seems.
I mean, are we talking feet, or you don't want to see it there? I mean, if it's,
I'm wondering,
Yeah.
like, again, I hate to play architect, but like, what if you like flattened the roof pitch and you pulled the entire roof? You're actually adding program on the second floor, but you actually pulled it forward. It's perhaps the peak I'm having an issue with.
Well, and this, because it's dark, but what if you put a flat roof on it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody
I mean, a
likes,
flat roof, I'm not
Nobody
fond
likes
of a
flat
flat
roofs,
roof,
but
but it
I
would,
think it's
it
the
would
peak-
eliminate
the
that.
peak is
yeah.
what's bothering.
I think that's a
everyone
little
here.
bit of it. I
just
think
makes
if
it
it
a
was
bigger
just,
volume,
yes,
is that what-
yeah, that's my sense, is
Mhm.
it's just the massing of it. I think even if you kept the peak, but you just shrunk it
We're
down a
still
little
not
bit.
addressing the overall
But
mess.
if you,
Well, that's true,
when
but I
when
don't
do
know that,
this, to me, the house, like, I prefer it without it. And I'm not saying you remove the program, but like, what if you even flattened the roof line or away and you pulled this entire roof forward to fill out this corner? That's a possibility.
oh, I see what you're saying. Somehow that seems like that.
More prominent, but architecturally, the issue I've had from the beginning has been the peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
You know, that wouldn't eliminate the master suite for your client.
so pull the roof gable forward, and you're saying post it maybe on above the columns that we did on the first floor. So that's increasing. I mean, to me, that's increasing.
the
roof
massing,
mass, yeah, that's
I
increasing
feel
mass,
the
yeah.
same way.
Increasing the glazing.
Yeah.
No,
that's
the
true.
glazing would stay back where it was. It would just be sort of a
Yeah.
roof overhang in the front, is what I'm understanding. I mean, the cathedral ceiling, unfortunately, that's what they have now. That was the house was sort of designed around this master bedroom volume. So a flat roof, although I agree it may change that pitch there, or the massing there, I don't think they're going to go for that.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me here's where your clients are stuck with an architecture, or that we're not meeting in common ground.
Yep.
The
Mm-hmm.
architectural review board and your clients in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to speak for the entire board, but
Yeah. No, I think that's true. I think that's true. I mean, I think part of part of what is, it makes this difficult is that it's not our inclination to deny applications, especially with willing and cooperative applicants. But if we come to a point where we can't, we can't make any further compromises, then I think, it becomes, the matter becomes, will the application be denied? And then you got to start all over again. So I'm not saying that we're going to do that, but I'm just thinking that perhaps that would inform some of the discussion a little bit, so that we could deal with some of these.
We look at the character of our neighborhood, our street, and the mass and scale. And I mean, I showed pictures.
Mhm.
We are in character with our neighborhood. Maybe not the whole entire East Hampton Ag Reserve, but we do feel as far as mass and scale and character. And in the previous one, I submitted pictures of that, the houses on the street, and some of them were blue and they had walls of glass.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
And that's what we're comparing ourselves directly to.
Right. David, do you have any recommendation for us at this juncture? Because I don't feel like we can talk about
think
this
it-
anymore. I think we've exhausted this. I've exhausted my brain on this thing. I don't think I have that much more I can contribute, and I don't want to torture this man.
It's a very strong word.
It's-
I will say that there's no requirement in the town code for you to have a vote on an application.
Okay.
Even if the applicant requested, if the board feels that they need time to think, to give it further deliberation, that's certainly within your discretion as the chairperson.
Okay. Okay.
If there would have to be somebody saying that they need additional time to think about it, though.
Right. Well, maybe that's where we have to leave it for tonight, because I don't think we're making any progress at this point, and I think you would probably agree. So
are you going to ask to pull for a vote, or what?
No, I don't think at this point that we'd like to have it voted down. Will, do you agree with that? I mean, I think, he's trying to get some idea of what would satisfy you guys, obviously, and I'm sort of late to this particular point, so I apologize. We'll have to go back to the client and see what they're willing to do.
Right.
What I would be grateful for is instead of sort of setting the whole thing, we're going to deny the thing and start all over. If there are elements of this project that can be changed, that you guys, give him that advice, like Frank has talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, that
It's the garage and the master bedroom.
it seems,
And for me, it's just somehow not occupying the entire width of that property, which I know is an inconvenient shape, but it just, I wish somehow it could be narrower.
it's the general massing, I think, yes. But I think in terms of those specifics, I can't emphasize more strongly how helpful and willing to take our suggestions Mr. Muneer has
No, I
been.
understand that.
And so we he's been great. He's
No, I
really been
understand.
great. And I feel sorry that we can't, just say, oh, this is it, tonight, because it just isn't for some of us. And I think that we'll have to just, I think we've discussed, the general massing of it, the bedroom and the garage. I don't have a specific suggestion on how to address that.
Right.
But those are basic, those are the primary issues. I think that would be as much as I could give you at this point. And I would rather not, I don't want to deny this. I don't think that's the right way to go here, personally. It may be the board's will, but it's not my intention. And I think we'd be better off just, deeming it incomplete yet again, which I know is a frustration, but, and rescheduling it, once you've had a chance to work with the client and see what kind of modifications you might be able to make.
Kathy, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, I'm late to this particular
Right,
party.
right.
You know, you guys have been going through this
Yeah.
for, numerous
No, yeah, well, he's, yeah.
No,
most-
but again, I don't see tonight being the point at which.
No, I don't think so either.
At least try.
I don't think we're inclined,
And
yeah.
if it doesn't
Same,
work, then it doesn't
same.
work.
That sounds great. I think,
To proceed according to,
Yes.
how we.
Okay, let's go on.
yes.
And I want to close in saying, like, in terms of my vote, I think if there was some modification, that's something I've talked about, some exploration of this elevation, I could be
This
comfortable.
elevation here, Frank, that we're looking at right now?
Yes,
Yeah,
that would be,
okay.
is the reason I say I could be comfortable.
Yeah, that's
with it.
where Frank has been.
And
Yeah, and on that elevation, it's the second,
The second story.
It's the second story, yeah.
And, and this is up to Kathy, and I know we need to close it, but perhaps this is worth another working session. So Will doesn't have to come with like one
Yeah,
design.
same old, yeah.
And because it would be Esperanza and me, and Esperanza is not on board, that it seems to be that you also don't need to invest as perhaps so much in terms of
Right.
presentation material,
Right.
that we could work through some things
Yeah.
to get there.
Okay, well, we can decide that, if you're willing to do another meeting like
I am.
that.
I feel
Yeah.
everything we discussed,
Okay.
we sort of implemented.
Right, no, I understand that.
Completely
I
different
understand that.
approach.
I understand that.
Oh, much, I mean,
And I don't know, is that better or that's not better, the garage? Go to the front of the.
I
No, the
think it's
garage is
better.
definitely better. It's definitely better. It's all an improvement, which is,
overall, yeah.
it's all an improvement. So we're grateful to you for that. It is an improvement, but we just, as Frank said it best, we're just not there yet. So, and with these, Diane made some, pertinent observations about the garage, and Frank in the second story. And, Esperanza's like to see the whole thing shrinked. I kind of lean in that direction too, but why don't we'll try to work something out offline. We'll close this now and let everybody get on with the evening because we have other stuff we have to do.
Okay.
And I thank you very much for your patience and your professionalism and for working so closely with us. And we'll be in touch, Esperanza and Frank can decide if they can figure out a time to meet again and maybe get
I think.
a little more specific, give you more guidance in that way. So if that's,
Thank you.
okay. Thanks a lot, Will. I'm
All right, have a good
really, I
evening.
feel bad,
Next time.
but thank you.
Fifth time's a charm.
Okay. All right. So now we're on to issuance of certificates of occupancy. Driftwood Apartment Corp. Unit 56, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-110-1-13. That was mine. I went out, I took some pictures. Will, if you can find those. There was a resolution on October 28th, 2021 for a sliding glass door and a window replacement on the east elevation of a condo unit, it was condo co-op, I forget what the Driftwood, their apartments, the apartments there, right on Montauk Highway. It faces like the Hither Hills. So this is the unit 56. That's the front of it. And then if you could just scroll through, well, that's good. That's the replacement door. And then the window, and it was reshingled. It's also removed existing HVAC from wall and relocate under deck, replace cedar shingles in kind. So that was all done. All shingles, paint, and trim to match existing. So it substantially conforms to the resolution.
Pretty.
And yeah, oh my gosh, what a view they have. It's just that beautiful wetland there. It's right, looking, yeah. It's starting to get a little foggy, as you can see. It wasn't just my phone. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to instruct staff to notify the building department that this applicant has satisfied the conditions of the ARB approval of October 28th, 2021. And a certificate of occupancy can be issued. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next one is Harbor Ridge Communications.
Condominiums.
I beg your pardon. I don't know why I said that. Harbor Ridge Condominiums. And Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-18-2-25. This was mine also. This is out in Montauk. Now, this was an unusual request for a certificate of occupancy. This is a condo unit. There are 6 buildings, I believe. You can just scroll through this. As you see, there are replacement shingles in various odd locations on all these buildings. Apparently it had some kind of mold problem. But I asked the board as you look through this to see where the stain is, because what's been requested of us is to approve this for a CO, but wait until the spring to apply the stain to these buildings. And there's 3 buildings, and it's extensive reshingling.
Because it has to dry, the sap has to dry.
I think it has to weather before they can really apply the stain. Now, the one question I had, and if you just keep going, Will, there's a picture of there. Thank you. Perfect. You can see the differences in the stain, and I don't know if that's part of the reason why they've asked to have it weather, because it looks terrible,
But they know that too.
Well, I guess they do. But anyway, and if you could just keep scrolling, there's a 4th building. I thought there were only 3, but you can see that lighter shade. It just it's not congruent with the rest of them. And then that's the building that's
done.
Yes, correctly stained. But even that, you can see at some distance, right? That lighter period in the shade in the middle there. Okay. And then at the very end, I took many pictures. There's this pool house that has the same thing going on. So there was a letter from LPS. We're talking about, I thought 3 buildings, but the remaining 3 buildings could be stained in the spring. This is a conversation that was held between Jean Galante of LPS with our counsel, David McMaster. So there are actually 4 buildings. I don't know if that makes any difference, but I'm inclined to let it weather and hope for the best. So if anybody, you good with that, David?
I am, and just the town code authorizes Ann Glennon to issue a temporary certificate of occupancy or something like that anyway, so.
Okay, all right, great, that's great. That'll help them then. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to instruct staff to notify the building department this applicant has substantially conformed to the ARB approval of, I don't see the resolution here, sorry.
June 15, 2021?
May 27th, 2021 is what I have here. Harbor Ridge. And a certificate of occupancy, a temporary certificate of occupancy can be issued as per our council's description. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So that's passed and carried. Next up is 188 Springs Fireplace Road, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-147-4-335.1. That's yours, Esperanza.
Yes. So from these photographs, well, I don't have the resolution in front of me, do I? The applicant was replacing 2 sets of windows. And thank you. 3 sets of windows on the front facade of the building with proposed new Anderson double hung windows with the divided lights, 1 set to be 4/4 and 2 sets to be 6/6. And they also requested demolishing the chimney that used to be right in the middle, which was deteriorating. So that was part of the resolution, and all the existing shingle, the work done is now, conforms to what was there before. The existing shingle and trim colors are in place. So I think that the applicant has satisfied the conditions of the September 16 approval. So I'm happy to make that motion.
Okay.
So I make a motion to instruct staff to inform the building department that the applicant has satisfied the conditions of the ARB approval and a certificate of occupancy can be issued. I just wanted to make a note that when I was there, I noticed some extra signage So I think the building department, when they go out, may catch that.
Right. Okay, so I don't know that there's anything that we can do about that, but would someone second this
Second.
motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, thanks. And if there's some way for us to communicate that to the applicant, it'd probably save them a little headache, but anyway, yes, thank you. Oh, okay. Number 12, James and Susan Ratner, Suffolk County Tax Note number 300-189-4-6. This is Diane's.
Yes. Our resolution approved adjustment to the rear-facing first floor that included removal of a screen porch replaced by a 250-square-foot expansion. That includes a bike shed, as per plans. And everything looks absolutely fine. I'd like to note that none of this addition is visible from further lane or from anywhere, basically. It's all behind the house.
Right.
But if we go back to the pictures, there's one thing that I do question. And is there another gate picture, Will? I think there is. Well, this 5 foot from grade white gate has now had this iron cattle guard or deer fence added, which makes it now a good 7
look at
feet.
that.
now.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
And it is very, very close to further lane.
Okay.
I mean, it's barely
Right.
the 20 feet clearance.
That's too bad.
And I'm so shocked that they came for the C of O. They didn't wait to put this up.
Right.
Well, I don't think we ever approved those lanterns either on the
Yeah,
posts.
there are also lanterns, yeah.
I know we didn't approve them.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think we,
But this gate was approved.
They're not dock sky compliant. The gate was approved, but the lanterns came on mysteriously after, I think.
Okay.
well, definitely this 7 foot, I mean, it's just too obvious a gate and too important a part of.
Yes,
the
no, I
neighborhood, a further
understand,
lane.
right. So the building department will probably pick up on that when they go to, because we're instructing them to go and inspect for the CO, right, for the addition in the back. So maybe they'll pick up on that, or we should alert them to that. I don't know what.
I think we
do.
should,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should say something. We can make a motion to approve the renovation.
Right. Well, right now, I
the
think
right
what's
people.
before us is just the resolution from February 11, 2021 for approval of adjustments to the rear-facing first floor that include that. So the gate is not for us at the moment, although I'm very grateful that you picked that up and brought it to our attention because it needs to be addressed, but I don't think we can do that.
I think that they will be informed by the building department that the CO can issue until they get ARB approval for.
Okay. All right.
the
So
gate.
then should we,
Decline it.
well, should we decline it then, Dave?
No, because
I
it's
mean-
before, it's
It's a separate
Because they
matter.
did
For
what
the-
they said they were going to do, right? I
Yes,
mean, they
exactly
completed
right.
the work that they had the resolution for. So this is just, okay. So then I guess
So
if you would make a motion,
one could make
please. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve this application for the renovation described in our resolution of October 29th.
No.
No, of
February.
Feb-
Yeah.
yes, February 11th, 2021, and instruct staff to notify the building department that this portion of the project is ready for a certificate of occupancy.
Great. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Last but not least, Robin Clementi, Suffolk County Tax Note number 300-192-1-33. Diane, this is yours.
Yes. Yes, which one was this? This one is easy, I think. Yes, 34 Westgate Road. This was, well, actually, this is the new gate in Wainscott. This installation even goes further to meeting our resolution, which allowed a 54-inch gate, and the new gate is merely 48 inches from grade.
Yay
So
for them.
good. The posts, the square posts exceed the 8 inches by about 3/8 of an inch. But I think we
okay.
can chalk that up to
Okay.
builder's allowance.
But thanks for being precise. We love that.
And the post with the address that the address on and information, they're gone. So I would like to make a motion to approve this application for a certificate of occupancy and subsequently instruct the staff to notify the building department that it is ready for its C of O.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
All right, you're opposed?
I didn't approve this to begin with, so.
Oh, okay. So 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay, Diane, thank you for that. Thank you for your thorough review. Okay, so now we have 3 resolutions. Gail Worth, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300, 1-133-1-50.1. Sanjay Pingle, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-32-6-4.1. And Linda and Zev Wachtel, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-24-2-35. Those have been signed and will be ready for their next stage in this process. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you to this hardworking board and our hardworking staff. May I have a motion to close, please?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you all.